So, we are here with yet another book. And I can do it if I try, people. If I try. Anyway, this time we're here with Renegades by Marissa Mayer. And I realize in hindsight I did not say the author for the Poppy War, so I am sorry about that, but it should be on the book cover I used for the video. Anyway, let's talk about the plot for this thing. About 10 years before the plot of our story, a superhuman uprising took place because people were getting superpowers over the world. And one dude named Ace Anarchy and his group called the Anarchists, they basically broke the world. And then another group called the Renegades, who are basically the Justice League. I mean, they're obviously Justice League. They're obviously Justice League analogs instead of Avengers analogs, so I kind of feel like they're Justice League. Anyway, they're Justice League, and they've gone to fight the Anarchists. I almost said Renegades there, but they're the Renegades, and now they're trying to fully restore order to the world after the Anarchy happened, the Age of Anarchy, as it's called in the series. And about 10 years into the future of this conflict, or the present time, 10 years, we meet our protagonist, one of our two protagonists, Nova, the niece of Ace Anarchy, and her supervillain moniker is Nightmare, because she has the ability to make people fall asleep, and as a co-power, she also does not sleep herself. Anyway, she plans to assassinate the leader of the Renegades, the Superman analog, but her plan goes bust. And so her and her fellow anarchists, because the Popo or the Renegades are cracking down on them a lot, harder now because they see them as suspects, which they are because they were planning the assassination. Anyway, they plan to send her into the Renegades because they don't know her identity because she's so fresh, because she was like 6 at the time of the Age of Anarchy, as a spy to learn the secrets of the Renegades and eventually topple them from within. Meanwhile, our other protagonist, Adrian, the adopted son of the leader of the Renegades, well, the two leaders, both his dads. Yes, they're a gay couple, and he has 2 daddies. It's not a big deal. Anyway, he is working on his own secret project, using his own power to make drawings come to life, to give himself further powers, and increasing his own base abilities as he strives to learn the secrets of his mother's death, because his mother is a member of the Renegades, obviously, who had the power to fly, and she fell off a building and died. There's a conspiracy abound about that. Anyway, after having one of his fathers essentially nearly assassinated, he's obviously super paranoid about Nightmare, and hearing her say a phrase that his mother often said also leads him to believe that she has some connection to his mother's death, which is a really big stretch, dude. Anyway, he's off to try to find Nightmare because she's obviously connected to potentially his mother's death and the anarchists, almost said Renegades again, and he wants to stop them from hurting his family. Anyway, as Nova works as a spy, she slowly has conflicting loyalties, as she actually does find herself enjoying her time as a renegade, partially because of Adrian, as this is a YA novel, so flirt, 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 kiss, kiss, kiss. Well, they don't actually kiss, they just mostly spend the first book semi-awkwardly flirting. Nova's always on task, and Adrian is basically a teenage boy who has no idea what he's doing, and so it's kind of awkward flirting. Anyway, there's high tension in the air because one bad move from her fellow anarchists puts Nova on edge. That could lead to her ultimate decision to protect herself and uncover further secrets, or give herself over to the Renegades as a full member in order to stop said member of the Anarchist. So yes, this is a superhero young adult novel, and as I stated earlier, it does the obvious romantic thing between our two leads. Thankfully no love triangles though, because I hate those shits, and there's not one. And looking forward, I don't think there's a chance for any to appear, thank God. Love triangles are stupid in most stories. Anyway, honestly, the romantic thing between Nova and Adrian, as I stated earlier, is rather downplayed, as Nova's obviously more into her task of trying to find out how to crush the Renegades for her own personal reasons. And Adrian, his flirting with her could come off more as trying to be the friendly guy to a new girl on the team, while also not understanding how he feels about her, because he's like, oh, she's kind of cute. Do I go with that? Because, he's a dumb teenage boy. Speaking of her mission, Nova tries her hardest to learn what she can of the Renegades, but she doesn't get much, which is understandable considering she's the newbie. But she continues to push on anyway, which is pretty interesting. Her methods are basic, but it is good that she keeps trying no matter what, even though she can come off as hella sketchy at times, despite the fact she's supposed to be a spy. Having a technical villain as one of the protagonists is an interesting novelty, especially because Adrian and Nova both have secret identities. Adrian, while he's doing his experiments to try to increase his own power set, has created this alternate superhero identity known as the Sentinel, and it's a thing that the Renegades don't know who the Sentinel is, so they're like, we don't advocate for the Sentinel, so you're free to fight him if you find him, because we know who this guy is using our symbol and whatnot. So Nova likes, or will tolerate Adrian, but hates Sentinel, while Adrian likes Nova, but hates Nightmare, which is kind of like a fun double Superman thing with Lois Lane Superman thing, which is kind of just kind of a fun dynamic that the duo have with each other. Just it's like he's in Sentinel, because like one scene is where he's Sentinel, and then Nova is asking him, well, so you're gonna come with us silently or what? Because she's trying to arrest him because he's being hella sketchy, and she just shoots him in the chest, and it's like, oh, I love this. Anyway, she obviously sees how the Renegades as an organization as a whole are a good idea, but they go against her own philosophies about having people grow stronger of their own free will and shit, especially when they start being a hella sketchy organization, especially considering some of the people they employ. Like, they obviously have the super bad as the basically borderline bad guys heroes working for the Renegades, like the asshole team of heroes who probably were created by Rob Liefeld. And like obviously they're bad, and they're just using the Renegades as an excuse to trample on people because they feel they have the right to, because they have all this power now because they're Renegades. And obviously they serve as a key point of Nova's about why the Renegades are a bad idea, because people like them are allowed to join up. And that's the fun thing, because even the Renegades admit they don't have a correct way to control people like that, but they say they're better off with them and not actively causing trouble for society. So while I'm talking about Nova, I'm going to get this off my chest. Me personally, there are two types of villains that I just kind of hate in fiction because they're kind of fucking dumb. Those would be environmental terrorist and anarchist. I'll maybe find a chance to explain environmental terrorists some other day, but for this case, anarchists are dumb as pure antagonists. Why? Their ideology as a group is dumb. So like anarchists believe in chaos and pure chaos, all that stuff, and something. Basically pure chaos, which just leads to power vacuums that lead to almost always dictatorships, or in other cases, just bad stuff happening, like the Red Lotus guys in Legend of Korra. They typically really don't have much of an endgame and only invite chaos with their actions. Now, I say anarchists are dumb antagonists, but in this case, the anarchists don't really have an overarching ideology here. They're really just using the name. Their main goal is, got mine, I'm good. That's basically it. They only care about their own power and self-interest and their own self-gain. They don't want to change the world. Well, they did change the world, but accidentally, because it was all about getting what's theirs, or what they believed was theirs because they had the power. So really, they're more of a might makes right group in this case, instead of just pure anarchists, and they just use the name Anarchy because the dude chose his name as Ace Anarchy, which is one of those comic booky superhero names that I kind of love because of how dumb they are. Seriously, Ace Anarchy, it rolls off the tongue. It's that double alliteration thing I love so much. Speaking of characters, there's Adrian, who I really haven't talked about, because he really doesn't do much outside of hunt for Nightmare and try to flirt with Nova in this book. I mean, he's a secondary protagonist, but really his role in this book is to show the more lawful side of the world while living under the Renegades, to be counterpoint to Nova's pure hatred of the Renegades. He's basically that for most, if not all, of the book. To basically be the face of the good Renegades. That sounds kind of weird to say out loud. Hopefully he gets to do more, because most of his stuff is just character interactions, which are pretty good, like his interacting with his own team, and his interactions with his dads, which lead to some sweet moments as he contemplates, the fact that he's literally throwing himself into danger, not only as his standard superhero self, but as Sentinel as well, and how that might be extremely nerve-wracking to his dads. It's like this revelation only hitting him now. It's like you didn't think about this when you literally signed up to be a superhero that your fathers might be worried about you throwing yourself into danger. He also has some really sweet moments with his also adopted brother Max. I mean, obviously they're two dudes, so why would they have kids naturally? I mean, superhero role at all. But anyway, with his other brother Max, who has to live in this containment thing for reasons I don't want to spoil, but he has to live in isolation, and so he desperately wants more contact with people. And Adrian tries his best to be there for Max by helping him build his little glass model map of the city, and it's kind of sweet seeing them interact. Because, it's just sweetness, and that's kind of good. Adrian comes with all the wholesome family interactions, and Nova comes with the whole very, very trauma-based shit that she got going down. Yes, talked a lot about this book, and I didn't think I would be able to talk that much about it, but I ended up liking it more than I thought I would, huh? Yeah, and if you can't tell by that statement, I really did like this. This was a good start to this trilogy of books, and I want to see where this goes. I'm on board for the other two books, which are already out, so I have to get them whenever I get the money to. I'll talk about those when I get to them. This has gone on for a while. So I'm going to end this video here. This actually ended up being longer than the Kuga video. It makes me worried about the future Kamen Rider videos. But anyway, I'm going to end this video here. Have a good night or day, wherever you're watching this, if anyone's watching this. And yeah, links are in the description for various things. Check it out if you have the time to. And goodbye. This is a very long video.